think the Chinese people are very innovative.
And when I think about China, I just think about food, because actually in my place we have a lot of Chinese food. Chinese are they're loving luxury goods, and they're all wearing Louis Vuitton bags, and they like to go to Paris and to go shopping.
To be fair, what I loved the most was the openness of Chinese people, because sometimes European people think Chinese are not open and they are focused on their own culture, but it's not true. I mean, for the people I've met, it wasn't true. They are really able to understand different cultures.
What I think about Chinese is there's a lot of them. That's the first thing, there's a lot of them. It's a big country, there's a lot of Chinese. They eat dogs and cats. And they have the eyes like this.
What I think about Chinese people, they are always together, always stick in a group, and they are laughing all the time, like
when I think about China, I think of collectivism. I think that Chinese people stick together a lot, and more than us Europeans do, and also they think the same way, and I think when working towards a goal, they work towards the goal more than the Europeans do. Together, yeah, exactly, together. I think that's one very important aspect.
I think it's quite nice actually, as well, like a little community.
Yeah, exactly, a community thinking. That's, I think, the major point.
So I didn't really have too much contact with the Chinese here, to be honest. But I've been to China once, and what I think about Chinese, they're really polite. Maybe sometimes even over polite. Sometimes I feel kind of insecure, about how to react, or if they're actually just being polite because they need to or because they want to. The fact that many of them are coming over here, and although I think they must have a really hard time, just because of the English, they don't necessarily speak that well. And so I think it's really cool and really brave for them to come over here and give it a try and get to know the culture. I don't know if
40 years ago, the NASA went to the moon. Today, I have Chinese technology in the pocket. This is how I perceive Chinese. This is the future.
These are all the first impressions about Chinese people from our foreign friends. Apart from all these common subjective comments, I'm afraid when talking about the Chinese, most people would immediately relate to its enormous population. So, as regards the Chinese, the first word would fall in populous. With nearly 1.4 billion citizens, that means in every 5 people in the world, 1 is Chinese. Since there are so many Chinese people in the world, perhaps it is inevitable to deal with a Chinese. Some foreigners think Chinese people are hospitable, even sometimes over-hospitable, that makes them uncomfortable. Whereas others use negative words like cold or even rude to express their feelings. Why is that happening? For better communication and mutual understanding, we need to decode some basic Chinese social etiquette for foreigners. As a starter pack, 3 essential words need to be kept in mind. Face, in Chinese, 面子. Networking, in Chinese, 关系. And indirectness, usually as a way the Chinese express their opinions. In our daily life, we often hear some Chinese idioms like 谁谁谁感到丢脸, literally translated in English as someone feels losing face, which is quite Chinglish, but generally understood by native speakers as simply getting embarrassed. Chinese people also say 给点面子吧, which literally means saving face, but it actually suggests doing somebody a favor by showing respect. 看在谁的面子上 for somebody's sake. On the opposite, 不留情面 is disregarding somebody's face or feelings. The implications of 面子 vary in different communicating and socializing contexts, which can be usually associated with fame, dignity, and prestige. It indicates that the Chinese would cautiously try every means to maintain their decency and avoid engaging in conflicts or embarrassments, and therefore winning respect from others. 关系 is another key word in handling the Chinese. The word is often directly used by native English speakers to mean relationship or connection in a Chinese context, as neither of these English words could fully explain its complicated connotations in personal, business, or political context. The word indicates a constant exchange of favors among people to weave a closely related social network. As it goes, the more people you know, the more opportunities abound. Yet, for you to note, 关系 has the potential to bring benefits as well as harm, depending on whether it is abused. Last but not least, Chinese people prefer to gently approach the topic of some issues in a circuitous or indirect way. This happens especially when they talk about something that bothers them, or for the sake of politeness, not to leave others into awkward positions. In such cases, they tend to use metaphors or intuitive comparisons while stating their viewpoints, expecting the listeners could read between the lines and figure out their genuine thoughts. In China, do as the Chinese do is a golden rule. In addition, there are 2 extra tips for those who pay a visit to China for the first time. First, it is better to let foreigners know when calling them 老外, the Chinese do not mean to offend them. Although 老 in Chinese generally means of an old age, considering the respect generally paid to the old people in China, 老外 is used by the Chinese simply to express their respect and acceptance. In the same way they call their parents 老爸 and 老妈. And since the Chinese have a strong sense of national and ethnic identity, labeling the foreigners doesn't mean they take them as unwelcome outsiders. Second, the foreigners are better to take it easy if someone comes to them uninvited to practice English. Anyway, this might be out of school pressure or their pure curiosity about strangers. Treat this as a short immersion into the social and cultural exchange, and learn to enjoy the chatting time. Hopefully, we've offered you some useful clues as to help foreigners decently and effectively socialize with Chinese people, thus eliminating all those unnecessary misunderstandings and tensions. In the following section, you will have a chance to take a closer look at the Chinese people, followed by a deep study of their families and family values, when you will learn the language skills of comparison and contrast. Finally, you wouldn't want to miss an in-depth discussion on a hit Chinese TV series about virtues as well as conflicts in Chinese families. Through the lens of a typical Chinese family, you could see through the Chinese society and its people as a whole. After all, the Chinese people is what truly makes the country one of the greatest in the world.